What up, though? Welcome back to the Woodward Heavyweights live on WoodwardSports.com. I'm Eazy, joined by a spin more ranks. We got a Christopher Platti in here, Gordon Jones. We're also going to be joined shortly by the one, the only Khahil of Locked On Pistons. Matter of fact, he's joining us now.
Part of the family.
Hey, part of the family.
Oh, cool.
What up, man?
You guys are doing great, man. I like you actually trying the product on the like that. That's goated. There you go.
Shout out. Hey, I seen you, Morgan. I saw you post a photo from a rooftop balcony, some food or drink in here or something like that in the suit. I was like, oh, damn.
Yeah. I had to go and show out for my wife. She was at the Detroit Design Awards for her company. They won a few awards, but I was going to show up in something really basic, but she was like, you don't understand. This is a really fancy event. We got to go. So, she took me to a store. We got a nice suit together. I think I looked good, man. I'm not going to lie.
Hell yeah.
Congratulations, Mrs. Coop.
For sure.
That's dope.
Yeah. She's great.
How do you feel about this draft pick, though?
I have gotten more and more high on him as the time has went by. I'm sure we'll talk about it. When you draft somebody this small, there's always going to be concerns about his size. The size is going to be something that he's just going to have to prove wrong. We've seen guys out there that have been good at miniature size, but obviously with the new NBA, with this new era of the NBA, when you see a lot of size at every position, you just have to prove it. And to prove it that you can play at this league despite being, 6'1", 6'2". So that's going to be my main concern. But outside of that, his game is very, very intriguing. He is a pure bucket getter. He is an advantage creator. He is someone that the Pistons did not have a lot of half-court creation. That's something that they wanted to add for their future. And he is absolutely he might be the best half-court creator in the draft. He definitely addresses that. Maybe not. We'll see how much he plays this year. I actually think he might play a little bit more than people think this year.
I do too.
But he definitely addresses all of that. There are concerns with that. He addresses every single bit of that.
A wise man said, and it's me right now, that he is going to be everything that Pistons fans think Marcus Sasser is. Because that's how like an actual bucket off the bench.
He is. I would say he's better than Marcus Sasser. Like I think he's just. I think he's just flatly better than Sasser. Like some of his numbers, what he was doing at 18 years old. Remember, Sasser was an older prospect coming into the draft. He's an older guy. Okorie is 18 years old and had to do all of the creation. Like there was a number floating out today that 80 plus of his field goals made were unassisted. For him to be creating 80 plus of his 80+% of his baskets while being incredibly efficient at 18 years old with not really much help at Stanford is absurd. Like that is absolutely crazy. So I think already at this young of an age, I think he's more explosive than Sasser is right now. I think he's a better driver than Sasser. I think he's a better paint touch than Sasser. I think Sasser probably has him as a better shooter, which is fine. But all of the other areas I think really matter, which as a guard who's a creator, I think he just is. And Sasser's fine. Like he's fine, but I think he's just kind of in a different stratosphere, to be honest, as a creator than Sasser.
Yeah,
I think he's better. He's got better ball control. Like he's able to get wherever he wants on the court, and it looks smooth too. Like the one thing, even like the haters or everyone who doesn't like the pick can't deny is he's a bucket getter, and you could use that because last year Cade was the only one at certain points.
Yeah, you brought up the handle. Maybe one of the biggest sells with him is how much of a turnover suppression guy he is. There is this number floating out as well yesterday. If you looked at the turnover percentage of a team with this player on versus player off, he had the largest on-off of, I think, any player in the draft. Like, he does not turn the basketball over. He spoke about that yesterday. I was at the media event. We got to talk to him a little bit. He talked about how he had it drilled into him at a very young age to not turn the basketball over. It's always been who he is. He just does not turn it over. And his handle is so tight, it allows him to get to wherever he wants to get to. And that's one of the areas where a lot of people really turn the ball over is your handle is just not tight enough. When you get into these tight areas, you get it knocked away, you get knocked off your balance. He doesn't have any of those concerns, man. Like, he just does not turn the ball over. There's a nerdy stat I could say creation turnover percentage is extremely low, man. He doesn't turn the ball over when he's creating, when he's getting downhill in scoring situations. He like you mentioned, he is a pure bucket getter. He's able to get to his spots, and he's not going to turn the basketball over. All of those things are things the Pistons needed.
The other thing caught my eye real quick too was when Trajan was talking about him running the second unit already.
Yeah,
like
he should be.
Trajan's speaking very confidently about him. And mind you, this is Trajan who poured the water on the Pistons during the playoff. Like, we haven't won a playoff game at home. We haven't won a playoff series. Like, it's that Trajan Langdon speaking very confidently about this draft pick. That's got me hyped about it too.
Yeah, I said this yesterday, and I mean this by no disrespect at all to Ron Holland. He loved the Ron Holland pick. But I was in the room when we talked to him after making the Ron Holland pick, and I was in the room after he made the Okorie pick. And you would have thought that Okorie was the top 5 draft pick that he made. Like, he was talking about Okorie. There was no ifs. I remember when they drafted Ron, he was very excited about Ron. But I remember they asked about his shooting, and he flat out said, and that's something I've always liked about Trajan. He's very transparent. Yeah. Even though I will say yesterday he was a little bit safe with some of the questions that people asked about potential moves that they're making, which is interesting. But I remember he was asked about Ron's shot, and he said, we all know that's the question mark. If he can improve his shot, then he'll hit. If not, then it's going to be a struggle for him. That's why we brought friend Vincent in. We believe he can develop it. He was very straight up with that. So there was an if he acknowledged with Ron. Yesterday, there was no ifs. He was talking in finalities. Okorie is this. He is that. He's going to be this. He already is that. Like, he was talking about him like he's this top 5 draft pick. Like, you would have thought they had one of the best picks in the draft. Like, he was... The word I used was giddy. He was extremely giddy talking about him. You would have thought that he had a top 5 pick in this draft.
And I look at this. You're talking about Trajan doing different things and being a little more reserved on some of the trade talks. But I think we all still believe that something's going to happen. I look at this now as with Ebuka, you have the free space to move Danis and Karras more easily than trying to hold on to Duncan. Like, you can have Ebuka run your second unit. You don't need those 2 shot makers. You can try to hold on to the shooter more. Do you see it as that? Like, he can, now you have that shot creator for real, so you can hold on to Duncan rather than fish him somewhere.
I think it's going to be very interesting to see, because I know the Pistons have been uber aggressive on the phones. We'll see if they end up pulling anything off. I think they will, but they've been uber aggressive. I think for me, and this part is speculation, everyone. I don't know if you guys saw. I got myself caught in the crossfires in the last week and a half. But this is speculation. I just feel like what the Pistons are looking at this as, their roster, is they have a bunch of guys that if they trade some of their rotation, they have guys that can step up and replace it. Like, if they want to trade Isaiah Stewart, Paul Reed can just step up and replace him. They don't have to worry about going and find the replacement. They can move him and have a replacement already on the roster. I think they kind of look at that the same way with Danis and Okorie. They can move LeVert. They can move potentially Sasser. Yeah. I do think it's a possibility that they trade Duncan, because Duncan's contract is non-guaranteed. You can select the amount of money that you want to guarantee it up to make a deal work. So that's why I think why Miami's interested in him so much, to potentially bring him back. Like, we heard noise about that last week. So I think what Okorie does, what Danis does, maybe they could look at Sasser that way, who knows, but why they look at Paul Reed that way is that they can trade a bit of their rotation right now for a bigger piece without having to worry that, okay, now we have to go fill 5 positions. They have some replacements already in-house. I think that may be how they look at Okorie as well.
Yeah, that's why I initially wasn't as excited, because I wanted something bigger. Like, I wanted something don't get me wrong, this kid's gonna be fun to watch, stuff like that. But I don't know how much closer it inches you to a championship, and that's just where I am at. Maybe I'm impatient about it. Where do you think the Pistons are with that Trajan specifically? Is there a move coming, you think? I know you rumored the Tyler Hero stuff, but we got to July 6th for that one. Is that still on the table?
Yeah, I think the Tyler Hero stuff is very much still on the table. Mark Stein reported, I believe this morning actually, that the interest in him is still real. I've heard the same thing. They are still very much interested in him. I think I was cool with this pick because I know that they were very much interested in Yaxel, and if he would have fell a little bit farther, if he would have made it past 11, I think they may have gotten him. And I think he would have fit perfectly. But he went way too high, and that it is what it is. I think way Trajan attacks the draft is he's taking the best player available, and he's going to take the guy he thinks is going to be the best for them long term. And Okorie he looks dope, man. So I get why he takes him. Either way, I think the person that they were going to draft could help this year, but that shouldn't have been the main help either way. No matter who they picked, shouldn't have been the main help that they acquired this year. Maybe Yaxel. I was really high on Yaxel, so maybe he could have been like someone that could have played instantly. But again, he went way too high. Their moves are going to have to come in free agency in the trade market, and I don't think it's going to come in free agency really because they got the MLE, which is about $15 million. They're They're not going to create cap space. They're not going to go that route. I don't see any reason why they would go that route. They'll have that, but it's not the strongest free agency class, especially for power forwards. I said yesterday, if you plan on going to the free agency and getting your new starting forward, you're basically shopping at Aldi's. You're not going to get Fruit Loops. You're going to get Apple Loops. You're not going to get Cinnamon Toast Crunch. You're not going to get Cinnamon Toast Crunch. You're going to get Cinnamon Toast Squares. Like that's what you're going to get. You're not. That's what you're going to get if you go to
Fruit Circles, man. Fruit Circles. Crispy rice, bro.
But so I think they're going to make some trades. I do think they are in the market for another scorer. They want to get another playmaker. They want to get another scorer. My only concern is if they use all of their avenues this summer to only get ball handlers and they walk into next year with Tobias starting and no other 4 again, I will probably lose it. I think the 4 is more important, to be honest. They need it. Tobias, I will always love him for what he did in the playoffs. I want him to retire a Piston. This is no shade at all, Tobias. I love Tobias. But I don't know how you can watch and see how teams guard him beyond the three-point line and think you can run that back again with Cade, Asar, and Duren as your trio. Like, you need a guy at that position that commands teams to have to respect him and are scared to help off of him. And when he is given a little bit of space, is happy to shoot it. Like, that's what you need. I don't think you can run it again with Tobias at the starting 4 spot. So that's why I think they should use most of their assets to go get that. But they are, I mean, they are still interested in Harrow, and they're interested in Norman Powell as well. We'll see what they do. I would be shocked if they don't make multiple moves, though, within the next 2 weeks.
So who are those names at the power forward position? Like, when you speak to your sources, are the rumors, that the Pistons even rumored to be calling on those guys, again, PJ or anything like that?
Yeah, I think MPJ is a name to watch. We'll see what happens there. I think John Collins is a guy to watch in free agency. I wouldn't necessarily love that one. He's not very good on defense, and he just isn't the level of shooter I would like as well to make up for his defense. But John Collins is a name to watch. PJ Washington potentially is another name to watch. I made a big list of guys that fit that the exact archetype they need. If I could find it, I probably can't find it this quickly. But either way,
you're good.
I would say MPJ, PJ Washington, John Collins in free agency, guys like that.
Go ahead, find it.
Hurry up,
find it.
I'll try. I'm scrolling. I'll try to see if I can get it. But yeah, I mean, guys like that, guys that can shoot.
So people in chat are pissed we say you're better than Sasser.
Pistons fans love them some Marcus Sasser. But getting back to
Marcus Sasser is fine, man. But Okorie is. I think Okorie is much better already.
I do too.
I think so too.
And we were talking about some way too early ceilings for him, and I brought up guys like Jamal Crawford and Lou Williams, and how I could see him like a realistic ceiling being that type of 6 man of the year scorer off the bench, but also looking at how he plays the game and how the game is now refereed, how offense is allowed to flow, how we're seeing Brunsons and SGAs do what they do offensively. He's so good at finding his spot, getting the defender off balance, hitting those leaners, those weird, those ugly shots. How important do you think that was as a factor for Trajan to love him so much?
I think it was a huge factor. I talked with the NBA draft scout yesterday, right before I started recording, and he compared him to Kemba Walker. So I think that is a big deal for why they went and got Okorie. They desperately needed another guy who could create his own shot, create advantages, and not rely on Cade to create everything for him to be able to do something. So I think that is by far and away the biggest reason why they went and got Okorie. By far and away the number one reason. I did find the tweet though for the names that I had for the power forward. So what the qualifiers I had were you had to shoot at least 35% from 3. You had to be at least a plus rebounder. So the way there's a nerdy stat that qualifies that, but a plus rebounder, 35% from 3, and your 3-point rate had to be at least 40%. So it means you shoot well from 3 and you actually shoot a lot of them. Like, you're not just shooting 2 threes a game. You have to shoot a lot of them, shoot well, and you actually have to be a plus rebounder. These are the names that fit the list: Bobby Portis, Khalil Ware, Onyeka Okongwu, Jalen Smith, MPJ, Jabari Smith Jr. I would really like Jabari. If the Rockets moved off of him, I think he would fit perfectly. Naz Reid, Lauri Markkanen, Santi Aldama, Kawhi Leonard, Tari Eason. And another name that missed it just barely, but you can basically put him on there, is John Collins. So those are the names I think would be on the list. A guy that can shoot threes and can still rebound pretty well. those are the names that I would look at.
So John just missed the list. Why aren't you a fan of that signing?
So I don't know if I would say I'd be fine with the signing. He just missed the list because he didn't. I don't think he rebounded or shot just enough threes this year. But in past years he would have made it. I think 3 of the last 4 years he would have qualified. So it was just something this past year he didn't get enough of. So I would put him on the list. I'm not as big of a fan of John Collins because he's not a very good defender. And I think if you go out and let's say if they use the MLE on John Collins, it means they traded for a guard. And the guards that they keep being listed to are not good defenders either. And I think if you walk out there, let's just say, for example, let's just use this. If they were to get Tyler Hero in a trade, sign John Collins, and then start Jalen Duren, I think your defense is dropping like at least 7 spots at that point. Like the thing that made them special, you're dropping. Tyler Hero's a terrible defender. Collins is not a very good one. Duren was really riding Asar's coattails on defense this past year. Like, that's the main reason. If they were to get a guy at the 2, or if they moved Asar down to the 2 and got another wing that could be a 2-way guy and then got John Collins, I'm cool with it. If they got Tyler Hero but then got a 2-way power forward, then I'm cool with it. If you get both, if both the additions are bad defenders, I'm having nightmares already thinking about it.
2 of those guys are, available to acquire up until July 6th.
What do you think of MPJ for defensive wise? I know he's not, a good defender, but like he in a system in Denver played his role defensively that he needed to win a championship. So I feel like he could, with Asar and Duren, I think with his length and athleticism, he could at least be a suitable defender.
Yes.
Yeah, MPJ, the thing with him is that he's a really strong rebounder and he's big. So he plays to his size. He doesn't play small. That's the big thing. John Collins, I just don't have the same level of belief. And like you mentioned, I've seen MPJ in a structure defensively contribute. He's never going to be like this super plus defender, but I've seen him in Denver at times be, especially during their playoff run or their championship run. I've seen him sit down defensively off ball, be a fine weak side rim protector, be very active on the. He's a very strong rebounder for his size. And again, like I said, he plays to that size and strength. So again, you don't have to be like a crazy defender, but I need you to at least play to your size. You need to be a strong guy. You need to be active on the glass, that kind of thing. And I think MPJ can do it. And the other thing, MPJ doesn't have to be a strong defender because he's one of the best shooters in the entire NBA. He just bends your offense to a degree that no one else really can. So if John Collins was shooting like MPJ and causing that kind of gravity, I would say, okay, screw it then. Just do it. But I don't think he's shooting like that. And he's also a little bit of a poor defender. I don't know if it's worth it. I would be fine with it, but then I'd need the other guy that they get to be a 2-way guy.
2 names you mentioned, Khahil Ware and Bobby Portis. Are those realistic? Are those names that you think the Heat would be willing to let go of? I'm sorry, not the Heat. I'm sorry, Milwaukee now.
The Heat have Bobby Portis now.
Yeah, that's right.
I think Bobby is realistic. I don't know how I feel about Bobby either. He didn't play that well this past year for Milwaukee. Now, some of that, I don't know if it's slippage or if it's team was trash, so he clocked out. Like that could be it. We see it happen all the time. But this past year, he wasn't as good as he's been. But Bobby, I think, is realistic. Khahil Ware, I do not. I think if he were to not be in Milwaukee, it's because he's maybe going to the Lakers. But him for the Pistons, no, I don't think it's realistic.
Damn, 7-foot 3-point shooter would have been nice to have, though.
I like it. Yes, I really would have liked him, but I don't think he's realistic for the Pistons.
I agree with you, and to kind of go back to the rookie, but also kind of dovetail into the conversation we're having now in offseason moves and future moves. How important, Koo, do you think it was that they made this selection? Because I feel like Trajan, part of him realized, okay, looking at these team structures, I need to have somebody on a rookie contract who in 3 to 4 years can be contributing at a higher level and be a great market value move for the Pistons. So how much of that do you think factored into his decision of making a draft pick rather than going the route and using that pick to get somebody today like an Isaiah Joe or whoever that the Pistons have been linked to that they like?
I think it plays a huge part. I think it's going to play a huge part in literally every move he makes. He's talked about this at a few press conferences, and I understand why a lot of fans – and look, I think he's going to make moves. I think he's going to be – he's been aggressive. I think he's going to make moves. But I don't think fans quite comprehend the new salary rules and the new CBA with the second aprons and how much money they're about to commit to Asar, Cade, and Duren. You do need to get another guy. It's going to be expensive, sure. But that's why it's so important to have, like you mentioned, cost-controlled guys around them. It's so important that you can get guys look at OKC. OKC has so many players on their team that are contributing, being paid $5 million. Like, Jared McCain's getting paid, I think, $4 million. Like, it's crazy how many guys. Go look at San Antonio. San Antonio has so many guys on cost-controlled rookie deals that are contributing at such a high level. All of these teams you are seeing that are winning at the highest level have like these cost-controlled contracts that are allowing them to pay their top guys what they paid them. I mean, the Knicks didn't, but the Knicks also got Brunson to take $120 million less than he would have, which allowed them to go get everyone else. So they're like a rare example. You can't like really use them as a team to compare to. You look at OKC, look at San Antonio. They have their best guys, and even OKC this year was able to. I think this was the last year SGA was on that steal of a contract. I think next year he starts the Supermax. But having these guys who are on cheap deals and getting these rookies or these first contract rookies is super important, and getting value out of those contracts at some point is super important. It doesn't have to maybe be the first year, but those second, third, and fourth years, getting value out of them on those contracts, it's so important. I think is really big reason why he went with Okorie here. Corey's 18 years old, or is going to be 19. I think he's 19, going to be 19 when the season starts. Mm-hmm. He's going to be in his second year, 20 years old, hopefully ready to take on a big responsibility. And then for 3 years, you have him for what, $4 or $5 million, and he's going to be contributing like a big role, hopefully. Like, that's a game changer when it comes to team building.
And you look at all of the like times we've seen that happen in recent history. When you look at like Devin Booker, you look at Jalen Brunson for the Mavericks, you look at all of those guys before they actually got the bag. That's when they were in the finals. And then, like you said, obviously the Knicks, Jalen Brunson did the ultimate solid in the world, so you can't really compare that one.
It's kind of like it really is starting to kind of be like QBs and like rookie deals. How you always talk about that in the NFL. How like that's the spending time. It's probably not the. I mean, unless you're Wemby and you get a steal like that with the Spurs. But most of the time, your best player, not comparable. He's going to be getting paid, but the guys around him, if you can take advantage of their rookie scale contracts or when they're cheap to be able to splurge, that's really important. I think that's the main reason as well. You're seeing that the Pistons don't want to really give out long-term salary. It's the reason why you're seeing them be linked to guys that they can maybe sign to 2-3 year deals, because not to get super nerdy, it's going to be hard to explain, but like 2029 is when the aprons probably are really going to start hurting the Pistons. They have enough space until then. Asar's contract isn't going to kick in when he eventually does sign it, isn't going to kick in until next summer, and then it's the second year when you have all your guys close to that apron. It's the second year that really starts to hurt you. So they have until the 29 season to really like be able to pay guys and not have to worry about, okay, now we're restricted here, now we're restricted here. We got to start making cap casualties. They have 3 years to do that, which is why you're seeing them connected to these guys that they can just sign 2-3 year contracts to. So having that combined with the fact of having guys like Danis Jenkins being a contributor like he was on a $4 million, a two-way guy, Javonte Green being a contributor on a minimum contract, Okorie, like you guys just like, that is so important in today's NBA when it comes to team building. The expensive teams you're seeing, the expensive teams are not succeeding. New York, again, I don't think is a fair example because Jalen Brunson might have cheated. Who knows? I don't know what happened with that contract.
Might have planted some trees. Might have planted some trees.
Yeah, I don't know what they did over there, but removing that, these
Pablo
super
Torre,
expensive
get on
teams,
that shit ASAP, brother.
OKC is expensive, but you guys get what I mean. The other guys that are helping, they're all on cheap contracts. It's a big deal.
I've been I think Trey Murphy's like the perfect fit along Cade Cunningham, 3-point defender. I've been a big wings when you rings guy, but yesterday when we were talking about the hypotheticals between what you're giving up for Trey, which is rumored to be around, it's insane. I don't know why, 3 first-round picks, and then what it's probably going to cost to get Tyler Hero. I've kind of sided with Hero in that argument because I feel like it offers you some flexibility. Where I feel like if we go on and Trey Murphy, that's kind of it. Like that's what you're committing to because you have no more draft capital to go and elevate that. Or where you at that Tyler Hero versus Trey Murphy?
I completely agree with you. I think if you talked with the Pistons, you put them on a lie detector test, they would tell you that Trey Murphy's probably number one on their list of guys they'd love to have. But when you then take into account the value that they're asking for him, I just don't think it's possible. They've been – I mean, I think that's the main reason why you didn't see him traded last night because they're still asking for something crazy. And Trajan has made it clear that he's not going to get scammed. He's not going to overpay. And I think I had heard 2 weeks ago that they were very, very interested in Trey Murphy and wanting to go after him. And they felt like they could get somewhere. And then it kind of fell apart. And then last week we heard from Trajan at a presser, and I said that it was the most frustrated or annoyed or irritated I've ever seen him. And it felt like when he was talking about how, it takes two teams to tango. Some teams have to stay at prices, and I can't just, you can't just force a team to do a deal with you. You need another team to operate in good faith. And I felt like he was talking directly to somebody. Like, he looked irritated. And I feel like he might have been talking to some of them. I don't want to pay that much for Trey Murphy. I think he would fit really well. I agree with you. I think if they had it their way, he would be the guy that they go after. But what they're asking for is just crazy. He ain't worth all that. And where it comes to Tyler Hero, I do think he'd be cheaper. The extension talks would be a little scary for me. I think they'd probably come to deal with like 3-year. I mean, I would want like a 3-year, maybe $100 million deal. Like, that would be where I'd want to be at. He probably wants way more than that. Yeah. So I'd love to see what that would look like if they actually did trade for Hero. But just like you said, that's why I'm interested more in Hero if I had to pick one, because I don't think he'd cost as much as what it sounds like Trey Murphy would, like stew 3-4 first-round picks and another. Like, nah, bro, it's not. No. Doing that.
Do your sources have anything on what Milwaukee would want for Hero? Are they going to hold him hostage to the trade deadline and get what they want, or what?
So, look, I want to be careful with my words, because last week I caught myself in a little bit of crossfire. Last week I was under the understanding that the Pistons. Last week, from what I was told, it felt like the Pistons thought they were close to something. They thought that they had, okay, we're willing to do that. We're good. And then the price elevated, it got higher, and now they're like, okay, we're not doing that. Amon-Ra reported on this of the Free Press. He reported on this, I think, 2 days ago, and the package of players he heard that could be involved was Stu, Ron Holland, and Duncan Robinson. So I think that matches what I heard as well. I think you're looking at something like that. I don't know, and this is more me speculating this part. I think Duncan is more of an interest to Miami, because his contract is non-guaranteed, and they need people who are cheap and people that can guarantee little to now with this Giannis deal. So I think that's why you heard Duncan's names involved. I know that Milwaukee's team really likes Stu and Ron Holland. I know that for a fact. So I think that's kind of like what you're looking at with a Hero deal. I think you might be looking at Stu and Ron to Milwaukee for Tyler Hero. I think they might try to get another first out of you. I don't know if I'd want to do that. But I think that's overall framework of, if they make a deal for Tyler Hero, I think that's probably what you're looking at. I think you're looking at Stu and Ron probably going out the door.
I'm doing it.
I'm doing it too.
I think I want to ask you guys. I want to ask you guys something real quick. What do you guys think about Ron being in? I don't want to say trade rumors, but this specific one, it sounds like they were willing, at least according to what Amari heard and what I heard and what a lot of people heard. It sounded like everybody heard the same thing at the same time. But according to what a lot of people heard, they were willing to throw Ron in a deal for Tyler Hero. What do you guys think of that?
I'm okay with it. Like, the playoffs, he was very little value to you, and what you hope he could be is a star, and you already have a star on your team, and you're already talking about extending him at somewhere around 32, which I think is very reasonable. And it's a more question mark. What is he going to develop into? I'm okay with it. It sucks, whatever, but just I'm fine with it. He offered you nothing in the playoffs this year.
Can't play with two Tony Allens. Like I love Ron, I do, and I think he has still an insanely high upside if he actually figures out the jumper. But you can't wait for him to figure it out right now. You're in a championship window.
I think he's more helping you win those regular season games to get to the playoffs. In the playoffs, he offered almost nothing other than the one Cavs game he came in.
And one thing before we get too far away from the Hero and Trey Murphy stuff, cool. You actually put out a tweet a while ago, I remember seeing, of Trey Murphy and his lack of isolation scoring and his lack of shot creation. And that's where that's why I'm all the way in on Tyler Hero, like in that debate, because I think that is so important to me. And Eazy talk about how he was 19, averaging 16 in the finals. Like
14,
that's important. We need somebody that
bench Duncan for him.
Yeah, and he was the second best player on two teams that went to the NBA Finals. So like that's something. Herb Jones.
So I'm looking down. I'm looking down because I wanted to pull up. You brought up Tyler Hero in the self creation, and you're 100% right about Trey Murphy. That's the thing I think a lot of fans are wrong about with Trey Murphy. They think Trey Murphy's going to come in and help this creation. He has not been a good creator. There hasn't been a point of his career when he's been like this creator. He was really bad at it last year. Anything in isolation, anything in pick and rolls, anything that involves him having to dribble, he's not that great. He can attack closeouts, he can make a move off of a closeout. If he catches the ball on the move, guys closing out, he can attack a closeout, get to a step back, or attack and get downhill. That he can do. But that's not really creation. Creation is isolation. Creation is getting me a screen. I'm getting downhill. I can either get me a shot or I find someone. That's not what he can do. Tyler Hero, though, I'm not the highest on Tyler Hero, but I think some people are going a little too – some people who are just out on him are going too far.
Yeah.
If you look at, like, for example, and this is coming from someone who was not the biggest person on Tyler Hero. But listen, man, in 2025, he had a bonker season, bro. Listen to this. As a pick-and-roll ball handler, he was in the 100th percentile. 100th percentile as a pick-and-roll ball handler. In isolation, he was in the 100th percentile in isolation.
Damn, wow.
As a spot-up shooter. On 527 possessions, 90th percentile.
Holy
and coming
shit.
off handoffs, he was in the 87th percentile. That 2025 season he had 2 years ago was absolutely was crazy elite. Like,
Wow.
Not towards the top. He was literally the top. He was crazy.
And those
Now,
are
last
his
year,
percentages in like making those shots, or how often he is in isolation.
It's points per possession. So how much do you score in those situations? So basically, he was the best at scoring efficiently in those situations. I could get you the field goal percentage.
And then you add Cade
Cunningham
Cunningham to him.
Yeah.
He's
It's such a good compliment.
Last
That's
year
insane.
he was hurt, and last year they played a different style too. I'm sure people know that they went away from doing any kind of screen and roll. I forget the coach they brought in. They did the same thing that Memphis did. They moved away from screening and kind of went to a movement offense, which is a little bit of an adjustment for him. And he was dealing with injuries last year, so he didn't have as good of a year last year. I have questions about Tyler Hero as a defender. I think him as a defender is really scary to me, especially in the playoffs. We've seen defenders get played off. We saw it happen with the Pistons, how their lack of defenders with Duncan and Tobias really hurt them against Cleveland. So that's the part that really scares me. And there's been playoff runs where Tyler Hero has been vastly just really bad for the Heat, and times where they had to sit him in the last few years. With that said, with those concerns, if Tyler Hero can be anything close to what he was literally just 2 years ago before the system changed and he got hurt, if he can be anything close to that year, I think people acting like he wouldn't make them better are trolling. Like that year was bonkers, man. If he can be anything like that, that would be something the Pistons haven't had. I don't even know when since when to say. Like, that was crazy.
Rip Hamilton.
So yeah, he fits offensively, man. I made a podcast a few days ago when I went through 5 guys that if the Pistons traded for him, I'd be like, I wasn't the biggest fan, but I get it. He's number one. Like, I'm not the huge fan of him, but if they were to trade for him, I 100% get it. He fits everything they want offensively. It's just the defense, which is why I would not want John Collins. But I get the offense. The offense would be incredible.
Could you afford to bring back Tobias if you acquire Tyler Hero? Yeah, because you clean up the books.
Yes.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
That's
Tobias. So what's going to happen there is they're going to stay over the cap, and since they have Tobias Harris's bird rights, they can do every other move they want before Tobias, and then just sign Tobias back without needing cap space. They just make him the last move they have to do.
But you got to do it.
So they could get, like I'm saying, I put it out there yesterday. I said, if Trajan locks in,
Trust me,
you can have Hero and MPJ, and then re-sign Tobias.
I mean, that would be man. If in 2 weeks I saw that the Pistons had Tyler Hero and MPJ, I'm probably doing laps, man. I'd be going crazy.
I mean,
I'd be going crazy.
You technically can. It's until that Asar deal kicks in that where you really face the trouble. So you have the flexibility. You have probably the trade packages to get them because they're both on short terms. But cool. While we're getting crazy here with Pistons offseason ideas, I assume the Pistons don't have the appetite for this, but it's a good conversation nonetheless. With Jaylen Brown being available, I think that you can logically from the outside say, okay, there's a package there that can work around Duren. Boston needs size. They need interior scoring and picks for Jaylen Brown. How much appetite do you think the Pistons have for a move like this, or are they just strictly kind of preferring the Tyler Hero and maybe Trey Murphy or MPJ or whatever, maybe a couple guys versus getting that one big top salary guy next to Cade Cunningham? What do you think their kind of appetite is for that?
I think their appetite definitely is more of the add multiple guys, cheaper contracts, get those guys. Not I'm not saying they're just going to go after guys that don't make big of difference. I mean, we just talked about Tyler Hero. We talked about MPJ a little bit. We talked about Norman Powell's a guy that I think they might go after as well if they can't get Tyler Hero. Like, there's a bunch of guys that they're linked to. Trey Murphy, a bunch of guys they've been linked to. Kyrie, who's on a good contract as well. Jaylen Brown, though, I think guys like, not even just Jaylen Brown, but if you just look at his contract, he's making $57 million this year, $61 million the next year, then $65 million the year after that. I don't think they have any appetite for that. I don't think they believe they can afford that kind of money on the book. So Jaylen Brown, I do think they have a package for him. I mean, it sounds like they want a center. If they really wanted to, they could trade Duren for him, or with, you know, Duren a pick or two, whatever for him. Like, they could do that. I don't think they have any appetite for that, though. Contracts that big, I don't think they're looking at. I think that's the main reason why I kind of have crossed Lauri Markkanen off any kind of possibility, because his contract also is pretty scary. Scary maybe is a bit strong. Just a big, it's a hefty contract, and I think that maybe is why they shipped away from him as well.
I had one of my friends try to check me, because I go to you with this one because you were kind of there with me too with the Ivy saga, and they're like, why do you like this pick and you didn't like the Ivy fit with Cade? And I said this kid's a better shooter than Ivy at a younger age, and I think he's better at the rim. Am I wrong there? They said they're the same player. I said, no, they're not.
Ivy's missing layups.
So, though the funniest thing about this is that, hold on, let me scroll up.
I
got the same comments.
Let's go.
So I had gotten the same comments about comparing him to Ivy. So I went through and did a complete breakdown. I went through all the stats and I was going to make a podcast later saying how it's dumb to compare him to Ivy. So I'll just go ahead and read you all the ones I have right here for you. So here, I'm just going to go through just a section of stats.
One, he's an atheist.
Number one.
That's crazy, dude. That's wild. Or what is it? He's Muslim.
He's a sinner.
One, he's Buddhist. So
I don't think you gotta worry about that stuff. All right, so one, there was only 3 players in college basketball this past year to have at least 4 unassisted rim makes while also having at least a .35 free throw rate and shoot 80% from the line. Ebuka Okorie was one. The other 2 were Darius Acuff and I believe Dalen Swain. So there's only 3 guys that did that this whole draft class, and we're talking about a draft class that is deep with talent. To move on, 80+% of Ebuka Okorie's made field goals were unassisted. Jaden Ivey was assisted on quite a bit of all of his buckets. He played with Zach Edey. Everyone has to remember. He played a lot of off ball. Yeah. He had a lot of stuff created for him. He had nowhere near, even a little bit, of the self-creation that Ebuka Okorie has coming out of college. That's number one. Number 2, Jaden Ivey was a walking turnover. Literally just a walking turnover. If he'd stepped on the court, you might as well pencil in 4 turnovers for the Pistons at least. That's what we're talking about. You look at Okorie's turnover percentage was just above 10%. Ivy on drives, 20% at his time in Purdue. 20% turnover. So that is basically doubled Okorie and in turnover rate at Purdue. And then the last one, Okorie is much better in the in-between area than Jaden Ivey was. Jaden Ivey didn't have much of a floater. He didn't have much of a mid-range. Okorie has a higher 2-point true shooting percentage than Ivey did, and he's much better in the in-between floater area than Jaden Ivey was as well. He has a way better handle than Jaden Ivey. He's much more elusive east to west with his handle as well. He can get around guys. Ivey was very explosive, but it was more of a straight line explosion. He wasn't a east-west athlete, I would say. He was a great athlete, vertical and straight line. Okorie is much more shifty around the basket. He can get around guys. He's creative with his finishes. And lastly, if you look at Okorie's finishing numbers, the finishing numbers are the one thing that I would be a little concerned about for me. But when you look at, this is if you talk with scouts and you look at some of the numbers, it makes me not as concerned. I want to see it at the next level. I still need to see it. But almost all of Okorie's layups or finishes at the basket were self-created. He was driving and having to create all of these looks at the rim on a really tough Stanford team with a lot of bad context. But he had an ability to finish with either hand. He had a ton of and ones. Trajan said at the press conference he thinks that he had the most and ones in the country. I don't know if that's right, but Trajan said that. And that was on a bad context team at Stanford. Ivy had over 100 less layup attempts than Okorie did at his time at Purdue. He shot a higher percentage, but again, a ton of those were just him backdoor cuts. A lot of those were him having shots created for him. He wasn't tasked at all with the kind of creation that Okorie is. So when you take into account that we're looking at different type of caliber finishes, we're not talking about backdoor easy layup at the rim or backdoor challenge a contest at the rim. We're talking about a guy getting downhill, creating, and then having to finish amongst the trees once he actually gets there. That's a lot tougher. And then the last thing I would say is he has a similar free throw rate to Ivy did at Purdue, but he also shoots his free throw percent. His free throw percentage is also much higher than Ivy. Had way better shooting or indicators than Ivy as well. He shot 35% on pull-up threes this past year. Okorie did. I know you look at the numbers and see, 35%, only 5.5 attempts. Well, per 100 possessions, he shot at least 10 threes a game. And on pull-up threes, again, a lot of those threes were not catch and shoot. Yeah. He's taking step back. He's taking pull-ups. 35% on pull-up threes is crazy. Last 22 games of his season, 38% from three. So he's just a better. I think he's just a flat-out better prospect than Ivy. I know people liked Ivy, and Ivy did have an injury that hurt. I'm like, that's fair. I think comparing him to Ivy is a lazy comparison. That's why I would say.
I agree. I appreciate it. I'm a scream core, all that. I'm listening to him.
Easy's back.
The main thing you have to put out is just Ivy was an off-ball guard. That's really the biggest comparison, or the biggest flaw in the comparison. Yeah. Ivy is an off-ball guy that didn't have nearly, not even I would even say like 5% of the on-ball stuff Okorie does. Okorie can play off-ball, but his on-ball stuff is like stratospheres, galaxies different than Ivy. He is way farther ahead than Ivy was as an on-ball creator. It's ridiculous.
Where are your concerns with him as a finisher, though? You said that you had some concerns there?
So his finishing numbers on the season were not great. He shot 53% on layups, and I believe his overall percentage at the rim was like, I think 57%. I had the numbers in front of me, but I lost it. I think it was 57% at the rim. So I would be that. Those are not great numbers, but again, I think when you take into account the context of his situation at Stanford, the fact that everything was him having to create for himself, not a ton of spacing. When you watch some of the finishes he had, he showcases a lot of touch. So I don't have as much concerns about it as I did when they immediately drafted him, because immediately when they drafted, I just looked at the numbers and got worried. I watched a little bit more, read a little bit more. I want to say I'm super concerned. It is something that you need to see play out, though, because he is a miniature guy. You need to see, does that affect him at the next level? But I honestly would have a little bit more confidence in him than Ivy. Ivy had much better finishing numbers at Purdue. He was a way better finisher, but again, a lot of it was not self-created. So, and Ivy not being a good finisher at the next level shocked a lot of people. So, I don't know. I would watch for it. That's why I would say the self-creation, the shot, the ability to get downhill, the ability to get to the paint, the ability to get his own shot off inside the three-point line. I don't really have any concerns about him doing that. Once he gets to the rim, I want to see how he finishes at the next level. But he also draws an insane amount of free throws once he gets to the rim. So even if he's not the greatest finisher, he should begin to the free throw line at a crazy rate, and he hits his free throws. So I'm really interested to watch him at Summer League.
I think he fits the modern NBA just perfectly, honestly. Like with what the league is now, I think he's just a perfect guy to come on. And like I'm serious, in not next year, but in a couple years, I could see him 6th man of the year competition if he's not, if he's not in the starting line.
Look, man, he's a smaller guy, but he has a 6'8" wingspan. He's really built too, so he looks like he can grow into it. Like he's not a 6'1", 6'2" that looks like really tiny. Like he's built. He looks like he has a body he can build into as well too. And he has a super long wingspan. I mean, he spoke about it yesterday that he knows he's joining a defensive team and he's ready to bring it on the defensive end of the floor and be like this turnover creator.
Yeah.
I really like the kid, man. Every scout that I've talked to, every draft person in the community that I follow and really trust, most of them had him as a top 10 prospect in this draft. And
wow,
this draft was insane. Like this draft depth was crazy. It was insane. So I think that speaks pretty highly for him. I think he's going to be really good.
You gave all those physicals. Mind you, he's 19.
Yeah.
He's going to grow, get stronger.
Yeah, he's young, man.
He could grow 1-2 inches, and then he's a top 5 pick.
Wow, actually.
I don't. Yeah, really. Like I don't think people truly understand how insane it is for him to be an 18-year-old and have 80% or 80+% of his made buckets be all his own creation while also being uber efficient. Like that should not happen. That is crazy. That is absurd.
And now he's joining K.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's there's a reason why you hear people saying he's like Kemba, Kyrie, like it's crazy the self creation he has.
I can't wait to get a hold of him in 2K.
2K.
Ready for the
he should be a fun 2K guy, dude. I'm not gonna lie.
For sure, 2K legend. Cool, man. I appreciate your time. If you guys don't know, it's Cool Khahil of Locked On Pistons, live Monday through Friday. Not live, but every day this guy's going live. Cool, plug yourself, man. Let people know.
Hey, yo.
You guys can find the podcast Locked On Pistons over on YouTube, whatever podcast platform you guys check it out. Locked On Pistons, like you mentioned, Monday through Friday. We have been sometimes having an extra episode on the weekend if I'm feeling up for it, but you have that. And then Tuesdays and Thursdays, we record a live squad show episode with Lindsey Hunter every Tuesday, Thursday, 1:30 p.m. Eastern time. You guys can join in, ask questions to us, hang out with us. Lindsey is absolutely hilarious. He's crazy, man. He is absolutely hilarious. So tune into there. I appreciate you guys always having me. Hopefully Summer League is super fun, man. I'm going to be really interested to see how he does. And hopefully by then they've made a few moves, because if they haven't, I'd be pretty disappointed.
I'm with you too. You got to strike while it's hot. Got that 3-year window, like you said, to 29, you said? Yeah, we got to do something. Got to do something. Cool. Appreciate you, man. Thank you.
We'll see.
Peace out, bro.
All right, man. Catch you guys later.
See you, man.
Shout out to you.